Hey everyone, and welcome to the Sound Mind podcast, where we dive into the fascinating world of music psychology. I'm your host, Sophia, and as a music psychologist, I'll be guiding you through everything you've ever wondered about music. So, whether you're a music lover or are just interested in the science of sound, you're in the right place. Now, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, how we instinctively turn to different genres at different points in our lives. Not just for entertainment, but to help us, for example, feel better, think clearer, or simply just make it through the day. I honestly see my patterns shift all the time, depending on what I'm going through. And I took note of this lately as I'm going through a super introspective time. And turns out there's actual science behind this. For example, maybe during a breakup, you gravitate towards slow ballads, and then months later, you're blasting empowering, upbeat tracks. Or maybe when you're stressed, you find yourself looping a lo-fi playlist that just makes the world feel a little bit softer. Well, today we're diving into what's known as the Brief Music in Mood Regulation Scale, or the BMMR scale. And this is a research-backed framework that essentially breaks down 7 ways that we use music to shape our emotions. So the strategies in the framework are entertainment, revival, strong sensation, diversion, discharge, mental work, and solace. So, in today's episode, we're going to be exploring how each of these strategies show up in real life, and I'm going to be connecting them with a fascinating study which was done by researcher Cook and colleagues that looked at which genres are most tied to these different emotional purposes. And there's also some insights from a follow-up study which was done recently, just in 2024, so last year, that reveals something really important. We actually rarely use these strategies in isolation. In the real world, we tend to mix and match them, really letting music work on multiple levels at once. So, let's get into mapping this emotional role of music across our lives. Now, I want to start with the most obvious and probably the most universal reason that people listen to music: pure enjoyment. And this is what the BMMR scale calls entertainment. It's when we put on music not to process deep emotions or solve life's problems, but simply just because it feels good. Now, that could be the playlist that you blast when you're getting ready for a night out, or the song that gets everyone singing along on a road trip, or that summer anthem that just instantly makes you feel like you're back on a beach somewhere. It's all about the dopamine hit, the little dance in your kitchen, just a soundtrack that turns a mundane commute into like a private concert almost. And in the study done by Cook and colleagues in 2019, genres like pop, hip hop, and electronic music really showed a particularly strong link with this entertainment strategy, and also with something that psychologists call increasing emotional arousal. Basically, these styles tend to boost your energy and your physiological state, so faster heartbeat, heightened alertness, and that ready-to-move feeling. Think about the rhythmic drive, catchy hooks, and predictable structures of all of these genres that make them easy to sing or move along to, which in turn reinforces that pleasure loop. And there's actually a neurological side to this too. So, research on dopaminergic responses to music has shown that when we anticipate and then experience our favorite moments in a song, our brains release dopamine. In simpler terms, your brain is literally rewarding you for hitting that chorus drop that you love. And high energy genres like pop and EDM are literally engineered to deliver those moments often and predictably. Now, here's where the 2024 follow-up study adds this important twist. People rarely use entertainment in isolation. In real life, high-energy music often spills over into another strategy called strong sensation, which is that craving for goosebumps, adrenaline, or emotional chills. So, while you might start a playlist just for background fun, the music's intensity can really just take you somewhere deeper, making you feel fully alive, connected, and almost like electrified in your body. And that's why a simple, fun track can still leave you with goosebumps or tears in your eyes. And I think it's also worth noting that our relationship with entertainment does change over time. So, in adolescence and young adulthood, research suggests that fun and identity are tightly bound in music choice. The songs that you love often become symbols of who you are and also who your friends are. And in later adulthood, entertainment listening might be less about identity signaling and more about mood maintenance. So, using familiar tracks to lift your spirits up and stay socially connected or even relive happy memories. And of course, context matters, right? A pop song on your headphones during, for example, a solo run, it might feel purely entertaining, but in a festival crowd, that same song becomes a communal high, which blends entertainment with another regulation strategy entirely, something called Solace, which in this case is through shared experience. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Now I want to talk about the next strategy, which is revival. So if entertainment is about turning the dial up, then revival is about turning the dial back down. So in the BMMR scale, revival is the strategy of using music to relax, recharge, and recover mentally or even physically. It's the sonic equivalent of basically taking a deep breath after a long day. So think about the moments in your life when you've reached for this. Maybe it's putting on a lo-fi playlist while you're cooking dinner, letting a slow jazz record fill the room on a Sunday morning, or curling up with instrumental piano music after a long day at work. The goal here isn't to hype yourself up, it's to create a little pocket of calm where your mind and body can just reset. In the 2019 study by Cook, genres like ambient, lo-fi, jazz, and classical really stood out for this purpose. Of course, they're slower in tempo, less rhythmically dense, and often they're instrumental. All qualities that research has shown can lower heart rate and blood pressure, and even reduce levels of cortisol, which is the body's primary stress hormone. Other studies on music and relaxation consistently show that softer, slower, and more predictable structures of music really promote these parasympathetic nervous system activation, which is what's known as your rest and digest mode. And that's really what you need to be in to revive after a long day or a long week in today's society, which is so hands-on and fast-moving. But revival isn't just about calming down, it's also about re-energizing. The right song can leave you feeling lighter, clearer, and just more capable of tackling whatever's coming next. For some people, that means gentle instrumental music. And for others, it could be an uplifting acoustic folk song or soulful ballad that both soothes and restores. And again, the 2024 follow-up study here, it adds another layer. Revival often overlaps with another strategy called mental work. In other words, while calming music helps you recover, it can also open the mental space for reflection and processing. So you might start listening to unwind after a stressful meeting or day, but before you know it, you're thinking through the day's events with a bit more clarity. And what's really important, and something that I thought about too, is culturally, revival strategies can look very different. So in some traditions, such as maybe Indian classical music, you've got this long-form improvisation and these kind of microtones that are designed to align the listener with different times of day or seasons, which is actually designed to foster a sense of balance and inner stillness. And similarly, Japanese koto performances, they often unfold with this deliberate slowness, which really invites attentive, mindful listening. And it's really part of this ritualized experience, whether in a tea ceremony, meditation context, or a cultural festival. And these practices aren't just about relaxation in our kind of Western sense. They're really embedded in cultural systems that connect sound, time, and environment into this holistic emotional reset. In Western contexts, revival often manifests through genres labeled as calm or chill, but I guess the motivations are similar. The lo-fi hip-hop boom, which was a genre characterized by warm vinyl crackles, soft drum loops, and these unobtrusive harmonies, Well, it's become this global phenomenon, especially among students, creatives, remote workers. Its appeal really lies in its ability to sustain long-term concentration while keeping your emotional arousal low, just creating this steady, comfortable state that's ideal for this mental replenishment. And classical music plays a similar role for many listeners, especially slow movements from composers like Debussy, Vaughan Williams, Mozart, whatever you kind of fancy, really. But even within classical traditions, different eras serve different revival needs. Baroque pieces with repetitive structures, they may help regulate focus, while Romantic era adagios can encourage emotional release and calm. Interestingly, recent studies suggest that these revival genres may have physiological effects, such as lowering heart rate variability or reducing cortisol levels, particularly when paired with intentional listening rituals. This means that whether someone is listening to a raga at sunrise, a koto solo at a tea ceremony, or a lo-fi playlist while working, the underlying emotional regulation function, the idea of replenishing mental and emotional energy, that remains remarkably consistent across cultures, even if the sonic materials differ dramatically. And just like I said for entertainment as well, our need for revival changes with each life stage that we go through. Younger listeners might use calming music mainly for study or post-socializing downtime, while older adults might use it more intentionally for managing stress, supporting sleep, or creating mindful daily rituals. So, whether it's a morning coffee paired with a mellow playlist, a meditative sound bath before bed, or just a quiet moment to yourself in the middle of a chaotic day, revival is all about giving yourself permission to pause and letting music guide you back to center. Now, let's talk about the next one, strong sensation. Have you ever had that moment where a song just hits you so deeply that it gives you chills? Maybe it's the build-up before a drop, or a soaring vocal note that just makes your skin tingle. And that's what researchers here call strong sensation, which is the experience of triggering these intense physical and emotional reactions. And scientists have studied these musical chills and found that they're linked to dopamine, which is the brain's feel-good chemical. So when you anticipate a big moment in a song, like a chorus or instrumental climax, your brain releases dopamine twice, actually. Once while you're waiting, and again when the moment actually hits. And that's why songs that play with tension and release, common in those genres I mentioned, like pop, hip hop, and electronic, they can feel so electrifying. Now, I've done a whole episode on musical chills. It's such a fascinating topic. So, if you're interested in hearing more specifically about chills, I highly recommend to go and check this out. But just for now, coming back to the 2019 study by Cook and colleagues, they found that these genres are not just fun, but they're also great at producing this rush, combining the entertainment strategy with strong sensation, and you've got this double dose of emotional impact. It's no surprise that high energy beats and dramatic drops just make us feel alive in a way that few other experiences can, really. Think about festivals, even gym playlists, car rides where you turn the volume up way too loud. For many, the sensory thrill is really what keeps them coming back to music over and over again. It's a physical rush, a kind of sonic adrenaline that makes us forget everything else just for a few minutes. But just coming back to chills, various types of music are known to evoke musical chills, like film music, for example. You've got those roaring build-ups in combination with storylines that move us to tears. It's something that we sometimes often seek out just to feel something. I think it's such a beautiful part of human experience, and honestly, it's why we're seeing the rise of such orchestral concerts, playing film scores like Star Wars on tour, even Hans Zimmer, and more. I've been to a few where an orchestra plays the music directly over the music live, and honestly, it's such an immersive and amazing experience. I saw Love Actually and The Holiday like this, actually, and I cried, I got chills, laughed. It was simply amazing. And every time I see one of those live orchestral movie concerts, I'm like, I'm adding that to my list. Like, 100% recommend. Now, the 2024 follow-up study actually highlights a cool new trend as well. So, listeners are increasingly drawn to hybrid genres that mix electronic beats with orchestral strings, or maybe trap with like cinematic elements. And this delivers a richer, more complex kind of strong sensation. It's like a roller coaster for your ears. It's full of unexpected twists and crazy highs. So it ticks all the boxes for strong sensation. So imagine if revival is the gentle calm after the storm, strong sensation is the storm. It's thrilling, it's overwhelming, but it's unforgettable. And that's exactly why we chase it. Now, sometimes life really throws a lot at us. Stress piles up, worries creep in, and you've got those nagging negative thoughts that can really spiral out of control. It feels like your mind is stuck on a loop almost, just replaying the same fears or doubts again and again. And suddenly things just feel overwhelming. And it's in those moments that many of us, and I can relate to this so much, instinctively reach for music, but not to dive deeper into those feelings. Instead, we use it to distract ourselves, to divert our attention from what's weighing us down. And in the brief music and mood regulation scale, this is called diversion. But let me be clear, diversion, it isn't about ignoring your emotions or pretending that everything's fine when it's not. It's not denial or avoidance. Rather, it's a temporary mental escape. It's like a way to hit pause on anxiety, sadness, or overwhelming thoughts. It's the soundtrack that you put on when you need to calm your mind, reset your mood, or just get yourself through a tough moment without getting fully swallowed up by it. Research into mood repair strategies consistently highlights distraction as one of the most effective tools for short-term relief. Music that's upbeat, rhythmic, or even just familiar, it can interrupt this cycle of rumination, which is that exhausting habit of overthinking negative stuff, and it gives your brain a chance to breathe. So the study by Cook, it points out that rhythmic and energetic genres like pop and dance music are especially helpful here. Their steady beats, they naturally pull us outwards. Our attention is diverted and really engages the brain's reward circuits in a positive way, making it easier to break free from that inward spiral that we're in. Think about your own life for a second. Those playlists that you maybe turn to during a stressful commute, when you're stuck on something and your mind won't shut off. The upbeat tracks that maybe helped you when you were studying for exams at school, or the fun, energetic songs that you blast out while doing chores that you really don't want to do. Even people who are feeling sad or moody sometimes choose upbeat music on purpose, knowing that it can lift their spirits and disrupt the negative thought patterns. And this practice actually has a name. It's called mood incongruent listening, and it literally means to choose music that contrasts with your current mood as a way to regulate it. Now, the follow-up study done in 2024, it really deepens our understanding here by showing how diversion often overlaps with entertainment. And that does make a lot of sense when you think about it. Distraction works best when the music is not just a background filler, but something actually enjoyable and engaging. It's easier to pull your focus away from worries if the soundtrack feels fun, energizing, or even a little bit playful. And of course, once again, our need for diversion does change depending on our life stage. So, students cramming for exams, parents juggling multiple responsibilities, or anyone going through a rough patch might all use diversion as a crucial emotional lifeline. Sometimes, honestly, music is the best way to just say to your brain, not right now. I need a break. So, next time you find yourself singing along or tapping your foot just to kind of stop your mind from spinning. Know that you're doing exactly what your brain needs. You're creating space, shifting your focus, and giving yourself that much needed moment of relief. Now, there's also moments where music becomes a safe space for us to really express the emotions that we're carrying. Maybe it's anger, frustration, sadness, or even grief that can feel overwhelming or even dangerous for us to hold inside. And this is what the scale calls discharge, which is using music as an outlet to vent or release those heavy feelings. So discharge is different from distraction or solace even. Instead of trying to escape or soothe the emotion, it actually invites you to lean into it, to let the music help you process by mirroring your inner state. So think of those moments where you put on a heartbreak ballad after a tough breakup, or maybe you're blasting hard rock or punk just to channel your anger. The music becomes a mirror, validating your feelings and helping you move through them instead of bottling them up. Research also supports this. So studies have shown that listening to music that matches your current negative mood can actually be beneficial. It helps people feel understood and less alone in their struggles. And honestly, that's what Solace is all about. For example, one study found that people who listened to sad music during difficult times reported feeling comforted rather than more depressed. Super interesting. It's as if the music helps regulate your emotions by providing an outlet and a sense of emotional release. Now, honestly, this is one of my favorite music psych topics. I actually did a whole episode on sad music all the way back in episode 9, as it honestly is such a deep topic and super fascinating. I love that different people turn to sad music at different times in their lives. Some people don't listen to it at all. And a lot of it has to do with our personalities, the way we're feeling at the time, and just so many different factors, really. But yeah, I'm one of those people that honestly loves to wallow in sad music when I feel sad. No shame. It is what it is. Cook's 2019 study, it highlights genres like soul and funk as particularly effective for this purpose, but really, what I always highlight is discharge can be found across all styles, whether it's blues, emo rock, even heavy metal. It's less about the genre and more about how the music connects with your current emotional energy. It's all about finding songs that you can connect with and find ways to outlet your own emotions. The 2024 follow-up study also adds an important nuance. Discharge often precedes or co-occurs with solace, which is another strategy. So after venting with music that matches your mood, many listeners then seek comfort through songs that make them feel safe and understood. And this emotional journey from release to refuge is one of the reasons that music is such a powerful healing tool. And at different life stages, once again, discharge plays varying roles. So teenagers might use it to rebel or deal with identity struggles. Adults might turn to it during relationship breakups, loss, or burnout. But in every case, the act of letting it out through music, it just offers a way to process emotions safely and authentically. So just know that the next time you're reaching for that raw, intense track when your emotions just feel too big in that moment, you're tapping into an age-old, scientifically backed way of healing. And don't ever be afraid to feel it out loud. Use music to feel. I think it's honestly one of the best mechanisms that we have. Now, sometimes music does more than just shift how we feel in the moment. Sometimes it helps us think, to reflect deeply, untangle complex emotions, or even to work through difficult choices that we're facing. And this is what the BMMR scale calls mental work, using music as a tool for emotional processing, introspection, and meaning making. Now, this is honestly one of my favorites as well. Mental work is quite different from diversion, where we try to shift our attention away from stress or negative thoughts. It's also distinct from Discharge, which invites us to release pent-up feelings. Instead, mental work is about turning inward with music as your companion, creating a mental space where you can explore and make sense of what's going on inside. Maybe you've experienced this yourself, listening to a quiet instrumental piece while journaling, or maybe returning again and again to a deeply personal song that really helps you just unravel tangled feelings. Music becomes like a trusted guide, almost like a therapist, helping you navigate emotional labyrinths safely. It can slow you down enough to notice subtle nuances in how you're feeling, or encourage you to face emotions that might otherwise be too difficult to sit with. Now, research has shown that certain music genres, such as ambient, jazz, classical, they tend to encourage deeper cognitive engagement and emotional insight. So, in the Cook study, these genres were closely tied to the mental work strategy because of their slower tempos, sparse textures, and complex harmonies that naturally invite listeners to focus inward. They create this kind of sonic environment where emotional processing suddenly becomes possible. And the 2024 follow-up study, it adds that mental work often overlaps with solace. And that is, reflection through music frequently leads to comfort and understanding. Music can guide you on a journey from analysis and introspection toward emotional acceptance and healing. It's a process of moving from simply thinking about your emotions to feeling supported by them. Now, if you haven't tried out journaling with music, I am such an advocate for it. I really think it brings so many different benefits. Just try and sit down with a blank page, put on a song that makes you reflect. It makes you feel seen, feel heard, and really gets you thinking about whatever you're trying to work through right now. Have a listen to it, maybe once through without writing anything down, and then try and listen again a second time and just write down anything that comes to mind as you're listening. What kind of thoughts are popping up? Is it helping you unpack your feelings? Is it helping you problem solve? I think it's really an interesting and eye-opening exercise to do with the music that makes us feel connected, because it really just shows why that music is resonating with us at that particular moment and maybe is speaking to us in a way that we can only unlock through doing that kind of mental work. So yeah, try out that exercise and let me know how it goes. I hope that you get something from that, because using music as a powerful tool to understand yourself better, to find clarity and just chart your way forward, it's such a powerful way and something that we all have access to. And now for the last one, solace. So sometimes the music that we turn to isn't about pumping ourselves up or even escaping. It's about feeling truly understood. And this is finding comfort, connection, and emotional refuge in a song or sound that seems to get exactly what you're feeling, even if no one else does. And that really builds upon the exercise that I just mentioned as well. Think about those moments when you're feeling lonely, overwhelmed, or sad, and maybe you just reach out for that one song that feels like a trusted friend. It's a song that speaks your language of heartache or hope. It just really cradles your emotions tenderly. And that's solace in action. And studies show that listening to emotionally expressive music, which is often genres like soul, heartfelt ballads, or intimate folk, can create a profound sense of emotional communion. It's as if the music offers companionship when real people might not be able to understand or even be available at that moment in time. And one study actually found that music which provides solace, it actually activates brain regions involved in empathy and social connection, making listeners feel less isolated and more emotionally validated. Cook found that genres such as soul and funk emerged as particularly effective for solace. Their warm, rich vocals and heartfelt lyrics combined with that soothing instrumentation, it just invites listeners into this almost healing space that feels both intimate and supportive. But again, Solace isn't confined to anyone's style. It might be a quiet tune that wraps around you like a warm blanket, or it could be a soulful R&B track. It could be even a heavy metal track. Once again, it's all about being in tune with your emotions and choosing music that feels right for you. Literally any genre, any artist, any song can speak to you for any reason. And it's important to be aware of that and just choose the music that speaks to you the most in that moment. Now, Solace has also been found to come after or alongside other mood regulation strategies like Discharge, for example. So many listeners first use music to vent or release heavy emotions through songs that maybe mirror their current mood, allowing anger, sadness, or frustration to pour out. And after that emotional release, they move into Solace, where the music shifts into a comforting, validating presence. And this emotional journey, moving from raw release to gentle refuge, is one of the reasons that music is such a uniquely powerful tool for managing our moods and healing emotional wounds. Maybe take a few moments this evening to craft out a playlist of songs, of Solace songs, really. Songs that make you feel seen and heard at this moment in time. Songs that resonate with your feelings, maybe with your life situation. Songs that are almost like a friend to you at this moment. And you can use those songs to, for example, perform mental work. It's a great playlist and a great exercise to come back to and amend, because you'll be so aware of how your feelings are changing, how your situation is changing. I really encourage you to try it out, and do share it with me if you feel comfortable enough. I always love to hear from you. There are some recurring patterns though, so now that we've explored all the different ways that music helps us regulate our emotions, I want to just conclude by taking a step back and seeing how all the genres we love map onto these different strategies. So according to the study, here's how the pieces fit together. So pop, hip-hop, and electronic music, they tend to be all about excitement and arousal. These genres are perfect for entertainment and strong sensations. So think of the high energy beats and catchy hooks that get you moving and give you that rush of adrenaline. Then you've got genres like soul and funk, and these are a bit more versatile. They can lift you up, soothe your soul, or even help you vent. So these kind of genres, they cover multiple strategies like entertainment, solace, and discharge. They've got rich vocals and heartfelt lyrics that invite both celebration and healing. And then you've got ambient, lo-fi, jazz, and classical music, which are often more retreating and revitalizing. So these genres tend to support the revival and mental work strategies, providing calm, focus, and really a reflective space for emotional processing. But the follow-up study reminds us that these categories, they aren't rigid boxes at all. So in real life, people use several strategies at once. For example, you might listen to upbeat pop, not only for fun and excitement or entertainment, but also to distract yourself from stress. Or you might turn to soul music to both release strong emotions and find comfort. And I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is that mood regulation through music is fluid. It's adaptive and deeply personal. Our playlists shift all the time with our needs, and the same song can serve different emotional purposes depending on where we are in life or how we're feeling in the moment. So whether you're chasing a rush right now, or seeking comfort, or simply just needing a moment to breathe, music offers a toolkit that's as varied and complex as we are. And I think that's honestly one of the most magical things about it. But that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Sound Mind. If you've enjoyed this episode, please rate or review on wherever you're listening and share it with someone who loves music just as much as you do. Don't forget to follow us and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And also come and say hi over on Threads or Instagram at The Sound Mind Talks. I absolutely love having such open and interesting conversations with you, and I'm always dropping in some new fun insights during the week in between episodes as well. So yeah, come and say hi. Don't miss out. But until next time, keep listening, keep reflecting, and I'll see you on The Sound Mind.